Alright, what's happening, what's poppin', what's Gucci? It's your girl Miriam. I'm back with my second video. If you haven't seen my first video, I'll link it below. It's 10 facts about me, get to know me, intro this channel type of thing. This video, as I mentioned before in my first video, is going to be an advice for first years. Before I left for Queens, I really wish I knew these 10 things, and I think if I knew these 10 things, my experience maybe would have been a little bit different, but I think it could be very, very beneficial to you if you're going into university, or if this is your first year, or if you're farther down the line, second, third, and fourth year, and don't know these things. Again, I feel like they can help you if you're not enjoying your time away at school. So stay tuned, you're about. Alright, so the first tip is a tip that I think is very important because I'm guilty of not doing this. First tip, open heart and open mind. Don't go to university, especially if you're going away, with a no new friends mentality, because if you do that, you are literally setting yourself up to not have the best 4 years of your life. Again, don't let that idea of it being the best 4 years of your life influence and pressure you into doing things that you don't want to do. But all I mean by open mind and open heart is just to immerse yourself in the entire experience. Get there, make friends, shake hands, smile, and just live your life and let it happen the way it happens, because that is how it's meant to happen. Just embrace whatever your surroundings may be and just go with the flow, because the experience is what you make it. If you go in with a closed mind and not let anyone in and seclude yourself in your room, and you don't have to go out or anything, but all I'm saying is that all you have to do is make that one friend, and that one friend will lead you to 5 friends, and those 5 friends will then lead you to further greatness that you never could have expected of yourself. You could discover things that you didn't think you could ever discover. Just open your heart, open your mind, especially if you're going away. Okay, tip number 2 has to do with party culture. Party culture is definitely a thing. I went to Queens, and if you went to Queens, you know that it's definitely a thing, because we have traditions and we love to celebrate who we are, and that's totally cool. But I also get that it's not for everyone, and that's okay. Coming into first year, you're like Frosh Week, for example, you're gonna see people partying, you're gonna see people doing things that you might think are a little bit profane. I thought the things that people were doing were a little bit out of the box, just because I didn't come from a high school where people partied a lot in general. So I just want to let you know, if party culture is your thing, do it safely and do it as you're comfortable. Don't overdo it to impress other people. Do what you're comfortable with and do what you feel is the safest bet for you. And if party culture isn't your thing, just know that there are people who also feel the same way, that you are not alone in that perspective, and that you can have fun without drugs and without alcohol. And that's okay. It's okay that you're not partying with everyone else. I spent my first day at Queens while everyone was out partying in my room with my 2 roommates reading books and having tea. There are many other ways that you can have fun. Party culture is not the only way to have fun and to tickle your fancy. Also, hookup culture is definitely a thing. And that again, no shame in your game, but just make sure you're consenting, because consent's everything. Number 3 has to do with physical health. The freshman 15, you hear about it, you read about it, and you think to yourself, that's not going to happen to me. I'm not going to put on an extra 10 or 15 pounds when I go away for school, because I'm going to be stressed. I'm going to be losing the weight. I'm going to go to the gym often. It's harder than you think. Cafeterias are buffet style. At least at Queens, they're a buffet style. So you have access to everything. You got the burgers on one end, the fries, the pizza, but then there's also healthy options. So the freshman 15 is real, but just know that you have accountability and there are options out there for you to prevent yourself from gaining the freshman 15 if that's not something you want to do. Also, at Queens, we had a campaign called Get Your 150 to get you 150 minutes of physical activity. Do that. You know, you're going to be busy, but at least take some time, even if you're just walking to class or taking a walk around campus, admiring things. Just figure out what you want to do to help your body stay healthy, because a healthy body makes for a healthy and happy mind, and vice versa. Get Your 150. I'll plug a link down below to their Instagram. Tip number 4 is a very important one. Hits close to home, and I feel like for a lot of you watching, it'll hit close to home as well. So self-care and mental health, 2 very important things when it comes to going to university, especially if you're going away and especially if you're in first year. A lot of people going away for university are probably leaving home for the very first time in their lives, and they don't really believe how daunting that experience can be until they immerse themselves in that. Just think about it. You are 17, some people are 17, turning 18 still, or you're 18 years old and you're leaving your parents or your guardians for the very first time, and you're living alone and you're independent and you're dealing with everything now. You don't have your mom and dad or whoever you live with to run to 24/7 being like, hey, like I'm not feeling good, you know, to just run to support or for support. And self-care is so important because you're away at school and you're taking care of everything at this point. You're doing your laundry, you're making sure you're being fed, you're making sure your schoolwork's done and that your schoolwork's done well. And just schoolwork alone is a lot of pressure, especially if you're in school trying to do things beyond that. You're worried about grades, you're worried about standards. Just know that self-care, like put yourself first. It gets hard, and sometimes you just want to beat yourself up about your grades or just about having things together. I feel like a lot of people struggle with coping with the fact that they can't always have things together, and that's what leads them to prevent themselves from like putting themselves first, taking care of themselves, and then again playing around with their mental health and damaging it furthermore. So just know on campus you are never actually alone, even though your parents or your guardians or whoever you look to support may be kilometers and kilometers away, but you have services on campus and look for them. I know Queens had the peer support center, they had counseling, and the thing is with Queens, because it was such a small community, that it wasn't not hard to make friends, but it was just, I guess, easier just because you're kind of forced into a community and you're forced into finding your people wherever you find them. But just know I'm gonna link some mental health resources below that are sort of universal for those that are struggling. But just know that you're more than your grades and more than your GPA, and without a healthy self you can't put out a good GPA, you know, if that's something that you're super worried about. Just self-care is important. Self-care doesn't even have to be counseling, it doesn't even have to be going to seek help. But if you are struggling with something, just know that there's always going to be a neighbor or someone else who's also going through the same thing, literally, who is willing to lend an ear. When it comes to taking time off of school and taking time off from your work, go for a walk, go to the gym, do something that you love and that makes you happy. Even if that means looking at pictures of puppies on your laptop for 2 hours, like do that, because that's worth more than you putting yourself under so much pressure and putting yourself through so much sadness and grief. And just know that you're more than your grades. Self-care, mental health, super, super important. You're never alone. You're never, never alone. If you ever feel like you're sinking, because first year's hard. You will feel like you're gonna sink here and there. There's gonna be points, but just ask, raise your voice. You're not alone. There are people out there that want the best for you. Okay, this is so important. I just want to stress it. I don't even know if I'm articulate right now or if I'm making any sense, but I'm stressing that self-care and mental health. Like, just take care of yourself. It's so, so, so important. Funny one. Go to class, bitch. All right, tip number 5, you think would not be a tip, but you'll know when you get there that this can actually get a little hard. Go to class. You paid for class, so go to class. And not even just that, like, go to class as a first year or any year. Just make upper year friends, ask questions, and go to office hours. In general, what I'm trying to say is swallow your pride and be resourceful. Because I found, coming from high school, I never asked for help. I never asked questions, even to teachers in class. If I had a question, I would sit at my desk for however long it took and figure it out myself. And I thought I could do that in university. Lo and behold, university content is way harder than high school content is. Just reality check, okay? I missed a lot of class in first year simply because I was struggling with my own dabblings of like, you know, a little depression here and there and anxiety. So I wouldn't go to class, and I would like try to figure things out by myself, and I literally couldn't, and I found that my grades were reflecting that fact. So literally go to class and make friends in those classes, and even upper year friends, and gain resources. Buy textbooks off of your upper year friends, save money, number one. But if one day you do miss class, make sure you have a friend in the class who you can get notes off of. Go to your office hours, because I guarantee you in class, again, I get it's hard to ask a question sometimes because you're in a lecture hall with like over 100 people, and that can be daunting. But just know one day, if you are feeling it, someone else might have the same question as you. So just raise that hand or talk to the prof privately after class. Just ask your questions. Don't let your questions go unanswered. Office hours are there for a reason. Even if you have to wait in line, just know that waiting in line and getting your answer could make the difference on a future midterm or a future exam. Just be resourceful, because being a keener in university is cool. Tip number 6. Wow. This one hits close to home as well. Don't be upset at the fact that you are no longer the top dog or the best in your game. Going to Queens, I went to school with kids who were absolutely brilliant. Queens was always known as the Yale of the North. Like, I'm not trying to sound pretentious, but I mean, kids at Queens were very work hard, play hard. And when I mean work hard, they had amazing grades. And some of them didn't have to work as hard just because they were naturally just like literal geniuses. I had a friend who left school after first year to go intern with NASA. Like that, yeah, that's crazy. I'm not gonna say who, but if he watches this video, you'll know. But just that to me, like when I got there in first year and I realized that I was, you know, in a class with Loren scholars, with kids who have already been published, you know, before university, like I was discouraged because I came from a high school where, you know, I was in so many clubs, had, you know, stellar grades at the time, and I felt like I was peaking, or I had peaked, and I came to university feeling like an average Joe. Again, there's nothing wrong with being an average Joe, which further reinforces the point that you shouldn't be upset at the fact that you're no longer the top dog. In university, the one thing I learned was that you are not competing with your peers. Never think that you are competing with your peers. You are competing with yourself. Your peers are there so you can grow alongside them. So when you're in a class, don't think I have to get a better grade than so-and-so. Do your best. Get the best grade you can achieve with your knowledge and your study habits. Just know that whatever someone else is doing or the successes of others should not dampen your spirit. Don't let someone's high grade make you feel like, I'll bleep that out, use that to motivate you to do better yourself. Grow with your peers. Don't shrink with your peers, if that makes sense. So don't be upset that you're no longer well known or whatever, or no one knows who you are, or at the fact that maybe you're not a straight A student anymore. This is a learning process, and you're new, you're starting. You have 4 years to build yourself, and you have 4 years to get to that point where you once were. So that's just that was a big deal for me, was just getting used to the idea that it's okay to not be the best. And I should have used all that energy being upset and channel it into becoming my best self. And that would have entailed, you know, working hard for myself, not to be better than the person next to me. Yeah, so no longer the top dog. Okay, tip number 7 has to do with clubs, extracurriculars, and committees. In university, especially where I went, there's gonna be tons and tons and tons of clubs. You can dabble yourself in many different disciplines beyond what you're majoring in university. So just know that when you're there, just do what you love and find your passion. Like, don't restrict yourself to what your program is or to what you're trying to achieve after university. For example, I majored in the sciences but spent most of my time at university dancing and choreographing, and they're 2 different things. But just know, like, if you are restricting yourself and you plan on going on beyond undergrad to do grad school and things like that, that they look for versatility and that they look for dimension. They look for a person, like a real person. So do what you love and show them that you have substance beyond what's up here. You know, show them that your brain can do more than just a science or more than just the liberal arts, you know, that you can explore and that you can create things beyond what you're studying. So don't let what you're studying restrict what you want to do with your time at university. Tip number 8 might be scary to a lot of you because I know a lot of us, the majority of the world, loves to work alone. And I can speak from experience that I hated working in groups, especially in high school, because tell me now, were you the person who held your group together, who did all the work, who stayed up the late hours while the rest of your group was just, effing around? It gets hard. Working in groups, a lot of us don't have a great experience with, but in university, group work actually comes in handy. Again, some projects you may feel are better done or better suited done alone, but when it comes to homework and when it comes to problem sets, lab reports, reading papers, group work is essential. Just don't be afraid to work in a group. When it comes to essays, having a group to read over each other's essays can make the difference between, a C and an A. When it comes to lab reports, you can always break it up if you work in a pair or in a group of 5. Everyone can write a section and we put it all together. When it comes to problem sets, I took advanced calculus in first year by accident, and I can tell you from genuinely deep within, I don't think I would have passed that course with the mark that I ended with if I hadn't done every single problem set with the group of 20 that we had, because literally there was no calculator, there were no numbers. Literally this was math with the alphabet, and it was just proof after proof after proof. And I was good at math when it was plug and solve. When it came to this stuff, oh, a lot of mercy. I could not. So I'm just speaking from experience that group work really changes your life in university, especially because content on a midterm, for example, is daunting. You're not going to be studying a chapter for a midterm. You're going to be studying 14 chapters for a midterm. So studying in groups too makes a big difference. Working together, taking the time apart, obviously, to do your own reading, but then quizzing each other afterwards, working with a whiteboard together and spreading ideas out on the wall, that can be super, super helpful. So in university, change it up. Don't be afraid of doing work in groups. And if you do end up with a bad group, by default, just be straight up with them. Just literally be straight up. And university is very strict. University, especially Queen, is very strict with bad group work. Grades will be allotted as they are deserved. So just know, if you want to speak up to your prof or your TA, just do it. Because all men's for themselves if you have a bad group. So sometimes, luck will find itself if you have a bad group. But just know, otherwise, if you can pick your group and put together a nice group, it is very beneficial. Okay, tip number 9, dreams change. Your initial dream can change, and you might be afraid of that, and it might be scary because it's unfamiliar, but just know that that's normal and that's okay. I know a lot of us in high school, when you apply to university, you have an intent and you have a dream that you're trying to go towards. Like me, for example, I always thought I was going to become a doctor and go to med school, but look at me now. I'm going to nursing school instead because I didn't get into med school, and dreams change. You could go into university thinking you want to do sciences, but end up loving your arts elective and maybe want to switch up and do the arts elective. You can do that in university. It is so easy, and it's not going to hurt you if you do that. Dreams change, and even if I feel like the hardest part for people when their dreams change is coming out to their parents about it. Because in all fairness, all families are different and expectations are all different. But just know it just takes some courage and it just takes some chutzpah, out of your heart to let them know that this is what you love. And if you love what you study and you love what you do, university will become just that much easier. So if you end up doing a full 360, just know majors, you can change majors with the click of a button online or with a visit to a counselor or an academic counselor. It is very simple. And just know that also, if you're in university, if you're in upper year, for example, trying to get into grad school and your grades aren't popping right now, that you can find your own way and your own path towards, med school or law school or whatever. You don't have to go right after university. So just don't let the fact that your dreams and your passions, don't let the fact that they're changing scare you, because that is normal and that's okay. A lot of people switch majors in second and third year because what they realized they initially wanted to do was not what they loved to do, and they weren't enjoying their time at school. You're paying for school, so do what you love. If you feel like what you're doing is not stimulating you and you're not embracing everything you're learning and the knowledge is literally just going like this, just change it up. It's fair, it's normal, and it's nothing to be afraid of. Number 10 is a banger. It actually is. Adjustment time. and then that's it. And then my conclusion about fighting the great fight, because university is hard as shit. We can graduate, and you don't have to graduate in 4 years. Take your time. The last tip I feel like is maybe in the top 3 most important tips out of this 10. It's all about adjustment time. So again, adjustment time is different for everyone. What I mean by adjustment time is getting used to the fact that you're no longer living at home and that you're in this new city or new environment with new people. And I can speak from experience that for me, I had a really long and hard adjustment period when I left for Queens. Because again, this is biased because it really depends on who you are and where you came from. For me, I came from like a neighborhood that was totally different demographically, socioeconomically, just all of that. Like all of the boxes you can check off. It was not the same, and it was in no way similar to the Queens community. So I came to a community in a place that was so unfamiliar to me, and unfamiliar in the sense of party culture was totally like new to me. Literal demographic of people was totally different from me. The fact that, I probably was one of 5 people on my floor who was on OSAP. I just came from a totally different background. So for me, adjusting to the new place, to the new people, even just simply making conversation with people was really hard because I didn't have a lot in common with them. So making friends took a lot longer for me as well, which didn't help with adjustment time. But just know that the first month, especially going to a new school and a new place, is going to be tough, but don't let it defeat you. Let it be an introspective experience and let it teach you a lot about yourself so you can grow and you can build strength. Just because in the real world, that's how it's going to be. Is you're going to be thrown into all of these new environments and these experiences that are going to scare you and hurt you at first, but we got to learn how to grow a thick skin and, mold ourselves and immerse ourselves into that new environment in a healthy manner. So just do whatever you have to do to find your footing, whether that's leaning on support, taking your time, or even just like looking for videos like this on YouTube to sort of help you adjust to the new environment. And even when it comes to studying, study habits that you might have had in high school might not be as applicable in university. They might be useless because waiting in university and also the amount of content being tested at a time, it's exponentially different. Like I'm just going to tell you from the get, is that was something I struggled with because I didn't come from a school with a lot of, IB or AP programming. So I had to compete, I had to work maybe 7 or 10 times harder than my peers just to compete and just to keep up, So adjustment time is different for everyone, but don't let it defeat you. You will find your footing. Literally the first 4 months of university are either going to be a super high or a super low, and that just depends on where you come from and how familiar you are with the new setting that you're in. And it's okay if it takes you longer than your neighbor, it takes you, or if you super immerse yourself into things too, that's great. Just know that times vary and that is okay. Take as much time as you need to find yourself. All right, that concludes the 10 tips that I would say are the most important tips in terms of first year advice. But what I want to leave you with is that you need to fight the great fight, okay? University is going to be the most crucial, it's the most crucial 4 years of your life just because you are growing the most in that time. And again, don't let the pressure of people saying, this is going to be the best 4 years of your life, pressure you into trying to make it the best 4 years of your life. Don't force, the happening. Just let it happen, okay? Put yourself first and do your best and not care about what X and Y are doing. You're here to live your journey and write your story. So write your story, and it's okay if it's not a fairy tale, because fairy tales can be boring, okay? You want to write a thriller. So just make university what it is. Live your life, and shout out to Queens for, giving me the chance to learn all of these things and be able to share it with you guys. So I hope you found this video somewhat informative. If any of you have any tips other than this that you want to share, shoot them in the comment section below. Give this video a thumbs up. So yeah, like it, comment, and subscribe. Thank you so much for tuning in again. I'll hopefully see you when I see you next. Bye-bye. gosh. Yay. Okay. We did it. 3 videos.